Philadelphia Eagles, while we stay in the NFC East, introduced Joe Flacco today as the backup quarterback, unless he isn't, to Jalen Hurts. Here's Flacco with his mentality as he embarks on his latest NFL assignment.
Hey, Joe, there's been some questions about just how you view kind of mentoring a young quarterback. What is your take on that, especially right now as it applies to Hurts, and have you kind of evolved in that way over the course of your career?
Right. Well, listen, I think I've spoken to it a little bit, and just saying that, I'm here to do what's best for our team and help us win football games. And the thing I've said so far is that, I think competition, in any room and on any team is something that brings out the best. And, that's really what I'm here to do.
Will you mentor Jalen Hurts and help him?
Well, like I said, I think every quarterback room, guys help each other. That's what we're here for. That's what the whole team does. So I'm gonna do my part, and we're gonna win a lot of football games. And part of that is getting in the QB room, grinding, and helping each other out.
Do you think you're going to have a legitimate shot to compete for the starting job here?
I'm not even really looking at it that way at this point. Like I said, I really just want to come in and, your goal as a football player is always to show people, around you that you can play football. And I don't care what level of playing that is, whether you're the first string, second string, third string guy on the team. You still want to prove to everybody on the football team that you can play football and that you deserve a spot on this team in some capacity. And that's really what my job is.
There are typically two types of backup quarterbacks. Number one, there is the guy who knows he's the backup, is there to support the starter and be ready to go in the event the starter gets injured or otherwise isn't available. Then there's the backup who has the burning desire to play, and they are pushing and they are competing, and you never know at what moment the backup may become the starter. The proverbial most popular guy in town, backup quarterback, typically behind a not very good starter. I think Flacco falls into this middle ground where he's not conceding anything. He's not wired to concede anything. And I think another thing that makes him unique, Miles, is the fact that he is the rare former franchise quarterback, once upon a time the highest paid player in football, who is hanging around the sport at a time when most guys who once were the guy would say, I'm not holding a clipboard for anybody. I'm the guy. And my guess is the stuff that Flacco says about his role is the most you could ever expect a guy who's been the guy, a Super Bowl MVP, not accidentally in that slumdog millionaire way like Nick Foles, but a real Super Bowl MVP as a starting quarterback. That's the most he's ever going to say if he's a backup. He's never going to concede that he's the backup.
Okay, the one name that I would throw sort of back at you would be Alex Smith, because Alex Smith was the guy, but he did not get as far as Joe Flacco did. He's not been the MVP, but he was still a number one overall pick, right? And Alex Smith is this kind of person who not only when he was still the starter in Kansas City said, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes under my wing, and Patrick Mahomes has praised him multiple times about just how the kind of care that Alex Smith took in terms of helping set Patrick Mahomes up for success. But I mean, you heard it in Washington with Heineke and all that. So I just, when I listen to Joe Flacco, it's almost like, dude, what's your deal, man? Like, I understand what you're saying in that, yeah, if you've been the guy and you've been a Super Bowl MVP, you don't really want to hold a clipboard for anybody. But at the same time, right, he didn't really beat out Drew Lock. And it's not like he was there to do more than back up Sam Darnold in New York with the Jets. What makes him think that, he's going to go to Philadelphia and all of a sudden he's going to be the guy? And I don't really think he's going to be the guy. But why can't he just say, yes, of course I'm going to mentor Jalen Hurts because I want us all to do better. It's like that word is just so verboten to him and he's just afraid of it and he won't say it at all. It's like Voldemort. I don't really get it.
Well, and I like that. I do think that part of it is, even though guys are on the same team, there is an inherent degree of competition that happens among teammates because they all want to get on the field. They all want to be the guy. And, Joe Flacco may not be wired to take someone under his wing. He may be wired to just lead by example. and not go out of his way to say, my job is to be essentially an additional assistant coach, a quarterback assistant coach to Jalen Hurts. I'm here to do what I do, and if he pays attention, he'll learn some things. But I'm not going to stop and explain it to him like he's 5 years old. And I think at a certain level, Joe Flacco would say, if we really boiled this down and had time to go back and forth and peel the onion and see why he is this way, I think at a certain level it's disrespectful and it's condescending to tell guys exactly what they need to do. They're in the NFL. They know what to do, and they know what to do to learn things in the NFL. You watch and you study and you pick things up and you incorporate them into your game. So I think I understand where Joe Flacco's coming from, and I don't think it's malicious. That's my take. And I think the Eagles are comfortable with that too, or they wouldn't have signed him.
Well, sure. I don't necessarily think it's malicious either. To me, it just strikes me as, I don't know, just this weird, awkward thing. Because, look, we've all heard the report that Jeffrey Lurie wants the Eagles to do everything that they can to support Jalen Hurts as a starter. And frankly, if you sign Joe Flacco, to me, that signals that you want a backup quarterback. It's not that you want somebody that can really come in there and push to become the starter. So I guess I could be wrong about that perception if then what happens is that Joe Flacco comes in and he says, well, my job is to show that I can still play football. And if you're a backup quarterback, then yeah, you still need to show that you can play football. That's for sure. But I don't know. It just, I guess when you have something like that, mentorship and being a mentor and accepting mentorship as a mentee, it all has to be genuine, and it all has to really reflect who you are as a person. And I think that this is not just in football, this is in life. Like, if it's not genuine to you, then you probably shouldn't be going out there and saying, yeah, like, yes, I'm going to be a mentor. I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to help him become the best quarterback he can be. If that's not who you are, then it's not who you are. And I can't blame Joe Flacco if it's not who he is. But at the same time, I don't know. It's a weird thing to me where he won't use the word mentorship, and he won't just say, yes, I'm going to help Jalen Hurts.
And I agree with what you're saying, and I do think it comes down to personal style. And it's well documented that this is the way Joe Flacco is, and it may be that it does work to the advantage of the starter because you do have the presence of someone there who isn't conceding anything, who isn't acting like he's the old-timer, a coined term this week on PFT Live that has gotten Pete Demolitis on my bad side, so he keeps using it, and Sims especially. But I just think it comes down to personal style. To give you an example, I mean, we've now got 5 different people that work with me at PFT. I don't get in anyone's face and say, hey, we're going to have a session today, and I'm going to tell you all the things you need to do. I trust people to figure out what they need to do, and I try to set an example that they can learn. And if there are questions, I will answer them. But I trust, for example, that you know what you're doing. You wouldn't have the job if you didn't know what you're doing. You don't need me bugging you saying you should do this and you should do this. And, hey, let me tell you a story about the time I did this. It's not, I got sausage to make. You got sausage to make. We're both making sausage. And if you learn something about my sausage-making process along the way, that's good. Maybe, and again, everybody's different in how they mentor. And some people choose to do it by setting the example. And maybe that's what Flacco's doing. And maybe he just doesn't articulate it well. Or maybe people pull out, random quotes that really don't look good. They don't like some of the things he says. If you isolate it, it's not taking it out of context. It's all part of a continuous monologue from him. It's not unfair to isolate it and focus on it, but some of the isolated comments, it's like, yeah, the guy's being kind of a jerk. But I think I understand where he's coming from, and I don't have a problem with it. I guess that's the best I can do with it.
It just sounds like you identify with him, old-timer.
Thank you so much. Oh, great.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.